Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating new way of thinking about AI problem solving. It's an approach that takes its cues directly from biology. So get this. Instead of calculating an answer, what if an AI could actually grow one? Okay, let's just dive right in. Take a look at these grids. You can probably see the pattern here, right? And you can probably guess what the solution for that final puzzle should be. But this kind of abstract, intuitive thinking, well, this is exactly what stumps even our most powerful, most advanced AI systems. And this really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. Why is it that these machines, the ones that can master incredibly complex games and process just trillions of data points, why do they struggle so much with something our brains do almost without thinking? Well, this challenge actually has a name. It's called the Abstraction and Reasoning Corpus, or ARC for short. And it wasn't just found in the wild. It was designed by AI researchers for one specific reason: to test the absolute limits of machine intelligence. So here's the key thing about ARC. It isn't about crunching massive data sets. It's about something much closer to genuine, human-like understanding. The AI only gets a handful of examples, sometimes just 2 or 3, and from that it has to figure out the deep, underlying logic. And that's exactly what makes it so brutally difficult for AI. See, with a lot of AI tasks, you can just throw more and more data at the problem until it learns. But you can't do that with ARC. Every single puzzle is unique. The system has to actually deduce the logic. And that's a fundamentally different kind of intelligence than just matching patterns. So, to solve a puzzle that seems so uniquely human, a group of researchers decided not to look for bigger computers. Instead, they turned to nature itself for a completely new strategy. And this is the radical idea at the very heart of the research we're looking at. The question they asked was, let's forget about brute force calculation for a second. What if we could use a process that mimics biological development, like a seed growing into a plant, to solve these abstract puzzles? The tool they used for this is something called a neural cellular automata, or NCA. Now, the best way to think of it is like a digital seed. The NCA model provides the DNA. Basically, a simple set of rules. And then, just through local cells talking to their neighbors, a complex, organized structure, the solution, just emerges. It's a lot like what happens in a living thing. And you can literally see that process in action right here. The final answer doesn't just pop into existence. It develops over many steps. It starts with the initial puzzle and then refines itself step by step until it grows into the final correct form. It's pretty amazing to watch. So that's the big idea. But how did the researchers actually put this biological inspiration into practice? How do you make a model that can grow solutions to these tough ARC puzzles? Well, it all starts here. For every single puzzle, the AI is shown a couple of before and after examples, just like you or I would be. And from just these 2 pairs, it has to learn the hidden transformation rule. And this just illustrates the result perfectly. You start with a new, unseen puzzle, and then the digital cells, they start communicating and changing their state. They grow the green color to fill in the space, but they respect those blue lines as boundaries. The whole thing develops into the final correct grid over dozens and dozens of steps. Let's look at another one, because this stuff is just fascinating. The task here looks pretty simple to us, right? Just connect the scattered dots, either going across or going down. And again, look at this. We see the NCA doesn't just draw the lines, it actually grows them out from those starting points. You can even see how it sometimes grows a little too far and then corrects itself as it develops. It's a completely different, much more organic way of thinking about how to solve the problem. Okay, so this is a really elegant idea, for sure. But here's the billion-dollar question. Does this whole developmental approach actually work? Let's take a look at the data. So the best version of this model, which the researchers named Ingram NCA v3, it successfully solved almost 13% of the puzzles. Now, 13% might not sound like a huge number, but you have to remember how hard these are. And get this, it actually beat out a popular large language model on this very difficult benchmark. But here's the real kicker. This is what you need to see. While the performance is kind of in the same ballpark, the cost isn't even in the same universe. The researchers estimated that this NCA growing approach was over 1,000 times cheaper to run for each task. I mean, that is a massive, massive difference in efficiency. And it actually gets even better, because different versions of their NCA models solved different puzzles. By simply combining the correct answers from all of them, the researchers could boost the total solve rate to over 17%. What's really promising, though, is that this wasn't just a simple story of success or failure. The models produced partially correct solutions for many, many other puzzles. They'd get the right idea, but maybe miss a few pixels here and there, which suggests that with just some minor tweaks, the performance could get even better. In fact, this chart shows it perfectly. If you just slightly loosen the definition of a correct answer to include those near misses, the success rate for one version of the model jumps from 16% all the way up to 27%. That just goes to show you how close it was on a huge number of these problems. So what does all this mean for the future of artificial intelligence? What's the big picture takeaway from this whole new approach? I think the most crucial thing to take away from this is that in the world of AI, bigger isn't always better. This developmental approach really proves that brute force computation is not the only way forward. It gives us a glimpse into a much more efficient, maybe more elegant, and definitely biology-inspired future for AI problem solving. And that leaves us with a really provocative final thought. For years, we've been trying to build bigger and more complex artificial brains. But maybe, just maybe, the real breakthrough is going to come when we finally learn how to plant the right digital seeds and just watch them grow.